when he's going and looking for a job, they usually would ask, do you need sponsorship? But he doesn't, right? Because he has now, he can always switch, right? If he gets a job and his job is like, oh, fine, we're going to sponsor you, he can switch and have his employer sponsor him, which some people actually, my friend did it, right?
What's the benefit of that? Is it 30% ruling?
No,
you can't get the 30% ruling afterwards.
The benefit is just for safety nets.
My wife is not controlling me.
No, it's not that. It's that I can't, when I stop working,
then you can depend on him.
Oh. That's the benefit. And I honestly like it because either way, your partner can swap to yours. True. Or,
Welcome to the Dillion Megida show.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a nice introduction I'll start using when I have guests like Gift Egwuenu. And we'll be talking about sponsoring your partner here in the Netherlands. And I say partner because partner can either be your husband, your wife, or it could also be a civilized partnership. So Gift here, you've been in the Netherlands for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then you got married in Nigeria. And now your partner is here in the Netherlands with you, but he's under your sponsorship.
Yeah, correct.
So in this video, we'll be uncovering what that means. What does it mean to be a sponsor? How do you apply to be a sponsor? What are the requirements? Yeah, I have a couple of questions here which we'll look into, but first, let's give the floor to Gift to kindly introduce yourself and tell us all your accomplishments.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. I am Gift Egwuenu. I am a Nigerian living in the Netherlands. I've been here for now 4+ years. And what else? I love to talk about, my journey and generally what I do, tech and life as an expert. And I do this on YouTube, Instagram, and you name it, any social media platforms. Yeah.
Fun fact, Gift's video when you came here to the Netherlands and you shared how you got here was one of the first videos and my friend Blessing we watched. I remember that they were on our bed and we're just thinking, we need to japa from Nigeria, we need to relocate, and we're watching your video that day and we had a Notion page where we were writing all the things we needed to do. Get a passport, update our CV, and start applying for jobs. The two other parts, it took a while, but then we could get our passports, I think probably a few weeks later, and then I think a year later or so, I came here, then my friend Blessing is also in the Netherlands. So also, thank you for your videos. And I've also been looking forward to interviewing Gift for a while, so it's a big
I've interviewed you on my channel, so it's...
Yeah, you've interviewed me, but...
It's good to have...
It's nice to also interview you.
Yeah.
When your partner wanted to come here, you had to apply to be a sponsor to the Netherlands.
Yeah.
That application, what were the documents that you have to submit? Probably proof of relationship, passports, employment contracts, criminal record check. Apparently that's something the IND can ask you for sometimes. So I'm curious what those documents look like for you.
For our application, what was required, I'll just put it into 2 buckets. They needed information about my employment, right? If I was gainfully employed, and also if I reached the income limits. So for that, I needed to submit my employment contract. I also needed an employment declaration from my employer. I also need to submit my pay slips for the last 3 months. Also certificates for our marriage, like to prove that we are actually partners. I had to submit the marriage certificate from the courts in Nigeria. And I think those were the major documents, if I remember correctly, that you are asked to submit. Obviously, they will ask me about information about myself by asking for my BSN, and I believe that with my BSN they can get
access to that
my address and every other thing. They didn't ask him for criminal record.
And they also didn't ask you?
No, they didn't ask me for it.
But they asked you for his information too, right?
Yes. So the form, when you are ready to apply, it's like a long form where you have to put in your information, your partner's information, and also attach documents to prove. I filled everything myself. So when I filled my information, I added his passport, his name, full name, address, and all the other stuff.
Apart from your marriage certificate, did you have to provide, I don't know, screenshots of, how long you've been dating, how long you've been together, or the marriage certificate was enough?
No, that's just the only thing they asked me for.
How long did this application, the sponsor form application, how long did that take for you?
So I applied in ending of July and I got a response back early August. So I would say 3 weeks max. And usually they say it takes like 8 to 3 months.
Yeah. 8 weeks to 3 months.
8 weeks to three
Yeah.
months, and you should just apply and wait. I was lucky because mine was a bit early than expected. But yeah.
Okay, so talking about maybe specific countries like Nigeria in our case, do you think there was any specific requirements that maybe you had to provide or your husband had to provide that was just particular to Nigeria, but probably not the same for other countries?
No, I don't think so.
It was just the
It's
general
just the general, everything that they ask me for, I believe every other person, regardless of their country,
would
would
provide the
also
same thing.
provide.
Ah,
There is no specific thing because you're from Nigeria, you
okay.
should have this here.
Okay, nice. Did you use a lawyer or immigration advisor, or did you handle everything yourself? Is it very straightforward on the IND
Yeah,
website?
I did everything myself. Honestly, you can also use a lawyer if you want to and if you have the money to. But the process is very straightforward. You
Yeah.
go to the website, you fill the form. But because I was doing it for the first time, I needed to ask people that had done it already. And in my circle, I have friends that brought their spouse
Yeah.
already, like 3 or 4 people. So I always would ask them questions or things that I was not sure of. And then that helped as well. But I did everything myself.
How much was this application fee?
I don't remember the exact figure now, but I know it's somewhere around 200 or 250 euros for the
Yeah.
application.
Another thing I wanted us to talk about was I think previously you mentioned that the way you sponsor uh, your your husband in this case is just the same way a company would sponsor, like the way your company sponsors you
Yeah.
here. But the difference is just that it's your company versus it's you. If I understand it correctly, when the IND decides with an approval, like in your case, then your husband can now use that. I think they call it no, not invitation letter. They call it IND approval, and then
Yeah.
he uses that to apply for the visa, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very similar. As we're having this conversation, I was just trying to think if having 30% ruling is also included. But no, I'll talk about that.
Yeah.
It's the same process. The difference is on the IND's websites, you have sponsorship as partner
Sponsorship as
or
company.
or company, right? The process is the same. You fill the form. In this case, I'm the one filling the form. With the employment, is your employer that will fill the form. But
Okay.
at the point where you get a decision back, then the same process
To
follows. So
apply
it's
for the
not
visa.
to get your MVV.
Oh yeah, the
It's
MV
the
visa, the
same.
temporary.
It's the same process. Yeah,
Was it
once
Ghana or Cotonou?
use Cotonou because I also went to Cotonou
Why are you
for
guys
my
not going
own.
to Ghana? Ghana
I
is nice.
mean,
I went to Ghana for my
the
visa.
flight, I don't know the reason why I didn't go because it was COVID, but the reason
yeah.
why he didn't go was because the flight was just outrageously
True. The
expensive
prices have
and
skyrocketed.
we had the option to go to Cotonou. So
Yeah.
it was still, well, not cheap to go to Cotonou,
Yeah.
but
And when he got the visa, how long did that take to get the?
I think he got it in 5 days. Yeah,
Okay.
usually 5 to 14 days that they say. So yeah,
And then he came here, then got his residence permit.
yes.
But in the IND or in the Dutch government, you are the sponsor.
Yeah, about that. So when I applied for him to be sponsored by me,
Sponsoree.
sponsored by me, everything that I have kind of transfers, including the validity period of
Really?
my residence permit,
Oh.
which is quite sad because at the time when I applied, it was 2024. My residence permit expires this year. So means that automatically his residence permit also
Ah.
expires the same date as mine.
Why are you already touching on a question for later?
Oh, okay. Let me just pause.
We'll come back to later,
I'll
don't
pause.
worry.
Anyway, but yeah, everything transfers, meaning that when he gets his residence permit, he also has ability to work. I think they call it something in
Oh,
Dutch,
the same
but
permissions you have.
yes.
Ah, okay. What was the income requirement for you? You already mentioned that you proved this income requirement with
Yeah.
pay slips and your employment contract, but
I
if you
already
remember,
asked ChatGPT and also
everybody's using ChatGPT. AI is going to replace us.
not really. Confirm if the value is correct, but it says the minimum amount you should be making is 2,100 without holiday pay and 2,300 with holiday pay.
Is that
So
net or gross?
gross.
Okay, gross. Did your partner have to take the Civic integration exam? I think it's called the Inbokering examen.
Yeah.
And I know it's a test that is usually required for newcomers coming to the Netherlands. I didn't do it. I don't think you did it.
No, I did not do
But
it.
did your partner have to do it in this case?
In this case, he was exempted from doing it before he comes. And
Oh.
there are two things about inburgering. So you have to integrate regardless, whether you do it before coming or after 3 years or 5 years of being here. At first, I was like, oh, he has to do it because what I read online was that they have to do it. But because of the kind of visa that I have, high skilled migrants, he doesn't need to do it before coming. So I think it's A2 that you do before coming, but he doesn't have to. But maybe someone is trying to apply and they don't have the high skilled migrant visa, then their partner has to pass the exam before they come.
And then we take a very short commercial break. Kindly subscribe if you're enjoying this, and let me know what other questions you would like me to ask people around Netherlands.
Yeah.
So we are back from our very short break. If you haven't subscribed yet,
be sure to
why?
Subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. $0, €0.
And it helps the channel. It really helps me.
Yeah.
Were there any challenges or unexpected steps that you encountered during the process that maybe you didn't know ahead of time?
Yeah, it's the inburgering thing for me, and I was not very sure. In fact, I asked more than 4 or 5 people, did your partner had to write the exam? They all said no. And it was actually staring at me on the website, but I did not just understand what they were saying, because it's not entirely clear if you can take, because they did not specifically write if your partner has high skilled migrant visa, they don't need to write it. The language and the phrasing that they use, they just put there that you need to prove that you, as in my case, I the sponsor, I have it's weird the language they use. I don't remember the exact phrase, but essentially what it means is if you're on high skilled migrant visa, you should apply for exemption. So I had to apply for exemption.
Oh, for him?
Yes. And I did not see all those. It was not entirely clear for me. So it was later I asked a few of my friends and they said, oh yes, you have to fill that form. And then it means that you're exempted. You don't have to. For me, maybe I would show you the link to the form to just put.
Yeah, that I can put on the screen.
Yeah.
So aside that, every other thing straightforward as you expected. You mentioned something earlier about not in this particular recording, about the legalized certificate and how it wasn't clear, and then you had to re-upload again.
Also, when I applied, I said it takes 8 weeks to 3 months. So you can actually follow on the IND website, follow the updates that is going on with your application, right? So I saw there that somebody had picked up the case and they responded that I need to re-upload my marriage certificate. Why? Because I think the back, because they stamped the back. The one that I uploaded was not clear, so I had to re-upload it. And after like a few hours, my application was approved. So that's the only thing. But usually what I would say is when you're applying, just make sure that because I scanned it, whatever you're scanning, just make sure it's clear visible. So that what happened to me would not be, because funny enough, the person could actually go on holiday and put your stuff on hold until they are back. So you don't want that to be the case where they reach out to you again.
What did your partner have to take? What steps did he have to take when he arrived in Netherlands? Like registering with the municipality, health insurance, tuberculosis tests, getting a residence permit, opening a bank account. How was his onboarding in the Netherlands?
I'll say he had a very smooth onboarding. Why? Because I had gone through the process and I used to tease him that you have it very easy compared to me that I had to figure it out all by myself. But the same playbook that I use. In fact, immediately got his when he booked his flights, I was already checking for dates for
nice.
Because usually you don't get dates immediately.
It takes a long time.
So the dates that I even got was a month after, right?
That's for the municipality.
Yeah, for the municipality. Yeah, so you book an appointment to get your resident permit from the IND. You
Yeah.
also book an appointment to get your BSN. You get health insurance within 3 months. What
3 or
else?
4 months.
Is it 3 or 4?
I think it used to be 4. You have to get it within 4
Maybe
months.
4 months of,
Maybe it has
yeah,
changed. I don't know. The
basically the
only
same.
difference here is just that you are the one sponsoring him, but he still
Yeah.
comes and it
Once it
does.
comes, is basically the same
Ah,
like
interesting.
every other person. Nobody, like, unless you take the residence permit and look at the back, you
Yeah.
don't know the difference.
And you also mentioned again that your the things you have access to, the permissions you have access to, he
Yeah,
inherits
he
it as a sponsor.
transfers. Things like validity of your resident permits. Unfortunately, the date that my resident permit expires, which is this year,
Yeah.
his expires as well, and that means that we'll have to
Right.
reapply, both of us. Also, because I have high skilled migrants, the benefit of that also transfers to him, in that I believe he can exchange his driver's license, which he did.
Ah,
I'm not sure which other benefit you get from that.
your partner is under your sponsorship. What does that mean? Is your partner restricted in the things they can do? Do you have responsibilities as a sponsor, financial? Then the question of how long does the sponsorship last? And I believe it lasts for as long as you have a valid
Yeah.
residence permit. And what if your financial situation changes?
Interesting. Now that I think about it, the thing with his resident permit is dependent on mine. Financially, nothing, like, no, they're not asking him to make a certain amount of money, or apart from the initial application that I did where they checked your income requirements.
But the income requirement was for you, not him.
Was for me,
So it
exactly.
doesn't
So
matter if
it
he has a
doesn't
job.
matter.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously, if you're living in Europe,
He has to get
you
a
need
job.
to get a job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but none of that matters. Nobody's going to check.
Okay.
For finances, I mean, you already have a resident permit. You just go on and you leave. You don't have anything to prove back to the IND anymore.
Oh, yeah.
What else did you ask me?
I talked about if he's restricted, but in this case, basically what you can do, having a
Yeah.
company sponsor, he can do it too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think everything applies to him.
Yeah.
The only thing that so far I've seen is when you start looking for a job, usually, because for me it's different. I came with an employer, so I already
Yeah.
had the job.
Yeah.
Now, when he's going and looking for a job, they usually would ask, do you need sponsorship? But he doesn't, right?
Because he has yours, yeah.
Now, he can always switch, right? If he gets a job and his job is like, oh, fine, we're going to sponsor you, he can switch and have his employer sponsor him, which some people actually, my friend did it, right?
What's the benefit of that? Is it
The
30%
benefit,
ruling?
no,
No,
you
you
don't
can't get the 30% ruling
30%.
afterwards.
The benefit is just for safety nets.
My wife is not controlling me.
No, it's not that. It's that I can't, when I stop working,
Then you
I
can
can
depend
transfer
on
to
him.
him.
Oh.
That's the benefit. And I honestly like it because you, either way, your partner can swap to yours.
True.
Or eventually you both get your permanent residence, and all of this will not
No
matter.
matter, true,
Right.
true.
The good thing for me is I know people that has moved when the partner was here like 1 year before their partner came. But in my case, I've been here 4 years plus. So this year I would officially be transferring from temporary resident
permanent
permanent to
residence.
permanent or passport, I don't know yet.
Okay, yeah.
Figure it out.
Okay.
But then that also
At that
now
point, it
fixes
doesn't
the
matter
security
again.
thing where
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter anymore. So
Okay. Is there any kind of documentation that you need to keep or report as a sponsor? Just a way to say, like, I am sponsoring him, or is that all handled by the IND? And
here in the Netherlands, they keep records.
Yeah.
Right? That's one good thing. So when we applied, I'm sorry, when he got his BSN, in fact, it was already, we connected in their database. On his file is written that I'm his spouse. On my file is written that he's my spouse.
Oh, okay.
And literally, the BRP, which is what they call it, is where you get all the information about a citizen or a resident, right?
Yeah.
So my information is there, BSN is there. And with that, with your BSN, I feel like your BSN, you can get everything.
Yeah.
So you don't have to report anything or do anything. The only thing is just register your marriage in the Clemente, okay, what happened for us was...
You still have to register
Yes, you still have to.
Oh.
This is a very annoying thing, and I'm going to say this just for anybody that will encounter it, is legalizing your certificate, whether it's birth, marriage, or whatever, in Nigeria, you always have issues proving it here. In fact, till now, my birth certificate, they've not accepted it, and that's from 4 years
Seriously?
ago. So in our case, I don't know what the problem is, but the problem is from Nigeria.
Yeah.
And maybe this is to your question about, is there anything? A
Yeah.
lot of people have these issues where they go to the Gemeente and they submit their either birth or marriage certificates, and then they tell them, oh, we don't recognize the legislation on it, or this
Interesting.
signature is not the same with what we have in our system, or it's just very annoying. Different people have, in fact, in the comment, if you have a problem with this, if you have a solution, also let other people know, because I fixed the one for the marriage certificate, but I have not fixed my birth certificate.
How did you fix the marriage one?
How I fixed the marriage one was, we went and you would book an appointment that you want to submit a foreign document for that. So I did the appointment. We took it there. They made a photocopy and they have to send it to the IND. So when they sent it to the IND, I believe we're asked to come back and get it.
Yeah.
And maybe before they accepted to take it to the IND, the lady was like, oh, she does not recognize the
interesting
stuff on the certificates.
Yeah.
But because we already knew that a lot of people have been saying that they had the same, we had to stand our ground and say, what do you mean, like, you know? And she's like, oh, don't worry, I'm just going to submit it to the IND and see what happens. And luckily for us, she submitted it after like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or thereabouts. We got it back, and this is just so that they put his data on my own BRP, and just so that they recognize. In fact, they know you're already married, but if it's not legalized, they're not going to accept the document. So for my birth certificate,
stand your ground for the birth certificate. You
have to. I know somebody that literally wrote like a long letter, like legal letter, to say, what do you mean, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah, this is for me, I've not gone back to fix my birth certificate, but I have to do it before the end of the year.
Okay.
So that's it.
Moving to the next part, and we're almost at the end. You recently gave birth. So what does that mean for your child? And what does that mean for you as a sponsor? Does it mean you're sponsoring 2 people? Is your child a Dutch citizen? Or how exactly does that play into you having a temporary residence, since you haven't gotten a permanent one, and then you're sponsoring somebody else? Okay,
so the Netherlands, they don't do citizenship by birth, sadly. So my daughter is not a Dutch citizen yet. But what that means is, obviously, they are both under my residence permit. So they are both sponsored by me. In this case, we all have the same validity expiration of our residence permit.
Really?
But the fun thing is, I heard, because my friend recently became a Dutch citizen, that when I'm applying for naturalization and I need to become a Dutch resident and Dutch citizen, my daughter automatically, so she doesn't have to wait 5 years. So she automatically becomes a Dutch citizen the same day I become a Dutch citizen, but not my spouse.
Your spouse would have to apply for his own.
From the research I did online, the child, in this case, Gift's daughter, would not automatically get citizenship when Gift does. The child would only get citizenship automatically if Gift was already Dutch before she was born. But in this case, Gift was not Dutch before the child was born. So as Gift is applying for citizenship, then she can choose to include the child in the naturalization request.
Well, that's pretty much all the questions I have. The last one here is just if there is anything you wish you had known before starting the process, if you would advise anybody. I know you already mentioned something about the birth certificate, legalization, or the marriage certificate.
Those were the things that I would say, if I was to do it again, or if I know somebody doing it, I'll just tell them to call it out. Because one thing I've learned is, if you've gone through one experience and you learn from it. Always give people, because you don't know it will help. For
Yeah.
example, the driver's license thing.
Yeah.
I'm currently suffering it right now. If I had known,
You would have
that
gotten
I
it
should have gotten
immediately.
it. So
Yeah.
for me, it's the marriage certificate. Make sure it's legalized properly. Also the birth certificate as well.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that your partner does not need to write the inburgering before coming.
Yeah.
Those were like the things that I learned while
Nice.
doing the process.
Yeah. The thing about the driver's license is that here you can convert your license within 4 or 3 months. 6 months,
Maybe
within
6, yeah.
6 months. So then you don't have to get your license here.
Yeah.
You can just
Yeah.
wait, sorry. Yeah, it was really noisy.
Yeah.
You can just switch it, but like in my case, I didn't even have a driver's license from Nigeria, so I had to get the fresh driver's license here. I have a whole video on that too. I would share below so you can check it
Same
out.
here. I'm still in the process of trying to get mine, but once I do,
Yeah,
I'll
going through the whole
yeah.
driver's license lesson and paying all the money.
It's so expensive, and so
Yeah.
I don't want to say it on this video. Unnecessarily
I spent over
expensive.
1,800 euros in getting my license.
I've spent more than now 3,000. Yeah, and I've still not gotten it. So when we are talking about people that spend money, you should be very happy. But yeah.
Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like Gift mentioned, she has a YouTube channel where she also shares different things she learns in the Netherlands. I think you even recently shared your birth experience there, being a mother and also being a content creator. I'm really curious how your journey in that is going to be.
I'm still figuring it out, but yeah.
Yeah, but you should check out Gift's YouTube channel. I'll link it in the video description and also her social handles. And if you want to learn anything from her, I think people can directly reach out to you if they have questions.
Yeah. I'm more than happy to answer questions about this topic.
Nothing else. But thank you once again, Gift, for this. I think I've seen many people sponsor others, but I've always been curious, what does that look like? I only know about sponsorship from a company perspective.
Yeah.
So it's nice knowing what sponsorship looks like from a partner perspective. So thanks for being here, sharing all of this, and I hope to interview you again soon. All those videos that you cannot make for your channel, you will make it on my channel.
Invite me, I'll come.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please subscribe if you haven't. Sorry, we're going to say something. I feel like I caught you. You're going to say, I don't know, you were saying something. I feel like I caught you.
No, it's fine.
Okay. Well, see you in my next
Thank you for watching, and see you.
I hope the microphone, everything's working
Just
fine.
play it again so you confirm.
Yeah.